May chaos take the world. These are the words spoken by those who have joined the thrall of the Three Fingers, those cursed to carry the frenzied flame. Many in the lands between believe that the frenzied flame started with the heretical beliefs of the merchants and the great caravan. But what if this were only a half-truth? What if the merchants who summoned the frenzied flame were manipulated, put in an impossible situation, locked away for crimes they did not commit, and they just so happened to find the perfect ritual for enacting their revenge? Seems a bit too convenient that the very stone plate that outlines how one can summon the frenzied flame was located in the very tomb the merchants were buried in. What if none of this was coincidence? What if there was a man orchestrating these events, all in an attempt to stoke the flame, to become chaos itself? We believe this to be the case, and that man's name was Shabriri. While telling you Shabriri's story, we will be including speculation as to his origins and actions. We don't intend to say that this is the absolute truth of the story, just the background we've put together based on the little information available, and both the written lore and environmental implications given to us in-game. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to help our channel with YouTube's algorithm. Now let's begin. Some time ago, we believe Shabriri may have been a scholar of the Golden Order, working towards a better understanding of the Fingers and their will. In his studies far below the capital, he found carvings and fingerprint designs that outlined the goals of the Three Fingers. The fingerprint stone shield is described as a great stone shield with an intricately carved fingerprint design. Part of the tomb of an ancient god, the readerless fingers relayed their message through these imprints, said to be the very seeds from which frenzy first sprouted. It is likely this shield is simply a piece of what Shabriri studied in order to come to a full understanding of the Three Fingers. He saw their goal of cleansing the world in frenzied flame, to reset the sins of the Golden Order, and he understood their intention. In order to heal the world, it must first be taken by chaos. However, in order to summon the Three Fingers and the Flame of Frenzy, a sacrifice was needed. Shabriri, being swayed by his learnings on the Three Fingers and wanting to see the spread of chaos across the lands between, devised a plan to bring his god into the world. He would use the great caravan of merchants as kindling to spark the future. If Shabriri was respected in his time, possibly a scholar within the Golden Order, it's likely his words held some weight. So when he accused the merchants of the great caravan of heresy, the Golden Order took action. We believe the evidence behind this lies in the nomadic merchant set. These merchants once thrived as a great caravan, but after being accused of heretical beliefs, their entire clan was rounded up and buried alive far underground. Then, they chanted a curse of despair and summoned the Flame of Frenzy. It's very likely that the curse of the Three Fingers could only be cast by giving up a vast quantity of life. When we find the subterranean shutting ground, it's filled to the brim with skeletal people, many dead, some wandering back and forth, all with the life seemingly sucked from their very bodies. This is also where we can find the fingerprint stone shield, and learn that this was how the Three Fingers imparted knowledge without finger maidens. Shabriri orchestrated the imprisonment of almost an entire people in the hopes that their anger and thirst for vengeance would give them the resolve to cast the curse of the frenzied flame. Suddenly, chaos had entered the world, and Shabriri came closer to his ultimate goal. However, this course of action did not go unnoticed. Shabriri's woe tells us it is said that the man named Shabriri had his eyes gouged out as punishment for the crime of slander, and with time, the blight of the Flame of Frenzy came to dwell in the empty eye sockets. After the Three Fingers were summoned into this world, it's likely the Two Fingers felt their presence. From here, it would not be difficult for those within the Golden Order to figure out that these events all led back to Shabriri. We believe the crime of slander that Shabriri had his eyes gouged out for was his claim that the Great Caravan was practicing heresy. This would explain why, for the most part, the merchants are left alone to do business throughout the lands between. The lords knew they were manipulated, and decided to let those merchants that still walked the land live in relative peace. This may also finally explain why Elamar of the Briar was sentenced to execution for hunting the merchants. It's very possible that having his eyes gouged out so the flame could manifest within him was also part of Shabriri's plan all along. He wanted to become one with chaos, one with the three fingers, and the fingers recognized his devotion. One of the incantations we can learn is called Howl of Shabriri. It tells us it is an incantation originating from the three fingers, releases a maddening shriek that causes madness buildup in foes nearby. This incantation also causes madness buildup in the caster and makes enemies more likely to target them. It is said that the sickness of the Flame of Frenzy began with Shabriri, the most reviled man in all of history. Once the Flame of Frenzy found its home within Shabriri, he was able to start spreading it through the lands between, little by little. This explains why he is considered the most reviled man in all of history. He had become so synonymous with the Flame of Frenzy that even the eyes of those afflicted with the curse had come to be known as Shabriri grapes. Perhaps it is because he was the first man to be taken by the frenzied flame, or maybe it's because the three fingers understood he was a channel for their will. But Shabriri has the ability to move his consciousness between bodies. Perhaps being an incarnation of chaos is what gives Shabriri this ability to move his consciousness into the bodies of those who have died. With this in mind, Shabriri could use this ability to manipulate Tarnished who proved themselves as contenders for the throne into possibly becoming the new Lord of Frenzied Flame. Shabriri, being attached to the three fingers, had truths revealed to him. He learned that in order to become Elden Lord, one must burn the Erd Tree, and the only way to do that was through the sacrifice of a maiden. Shabriri would use this as a bargaining chip, trying to use the gallantry of knights against them, tricking them into meeting with the three fingers in order to save their maiden. We believe this is likely what happened to Vike. Shabriri convinced him to meet with the three fingers so he would not need to sacrifice his maiden, and unfortunately, it led to Vike's downfall. Shabriri would try this again after meeting our Tarnished. He takes the body of a friend, Yura, in order to catch us off guard. If the warning of what needed to be done in order to become Elden Lord came from a comrade, we'd be much more likely to believe these words. Of course, he keeps his hands over his eyes in order to hide the flames he likely still carries in his sockets. While he makes a strong case for why we should burn ourselves instead of Melina, he can't help but give himself away when he tells us, "Burn the Erd Tree to the ground and incinerate all that divides and distinguishes. Ah, may chaos take the world. May chaos take the world." If we have explored the Frenzied Flame village, we've heard these words before from a ghost who reflects on Vike's failure to become the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Clearly, this solution has more sinister undertones than Shabriri would like us to catch on to. Interestingly, our choices moving forward from here can teach us a bit more about Shabriri. Should we attack him while he is in Yura's body, he says, "What's this? Well, this is peculiar. This I did not expect. But if you do not care for lordship, I'm afraid you are of no use." This shows us how he sees our Tarnished, as just another vessel for the flame, one that can bring about his god. Should we defeat him, he cries out, "Shabriri is chaos incarnate. I cannot die. Ah, may chaos take the world." It's likely Shabriri's consciousness could just jump to another body. Thus, he cannot die. Also, should we choose to meet with the three fingers, we can travel back to where we found Shabriri and he will be gone, leaving behind Yura's armor set. Again, Shabriri no longer has any use for us. We did as he wanted, and he casts aside the body of our friend, likely so he can watch as we plunge the world into chaos. Shabriri is as close as we get in Elden Ring to evil incarnate. He cares only for his own ambitions, and was willing to commit genocide to become a vessel for his god. He turned himself into chaos incarnate, a physical manifestation of the frenzied flame, all to serve the three fingers and burn away the lands between. He manipulates others to achieve his goals, and will stop at nothing to watch the world burn. He truly has earned the title of most reviled man in all of history. We hope you enjoyed our look at Shabriri, his possible past, and his motivations for helping us become the Lord of Frenzied Flame. If you have any thoughts, make sure to leave a comment. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on our next video, where we'll be taking a look at another popular, if underdeveloped character from Elden Ring. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden lore.